The $60 billion sleep medication cartel is absolutely terrified that you are watching this video right now. There is a deeply pungent $2 herb growing wild in the dirt that is scientifically proven to permanently restore deep, regenerative sleep and instantly cure age-related insomnia. The medical establishment has possessed the clinical trials on this exact botanical root for decades, yet they have intentionally buried the research to protect their empire of highly toxic, brain-damaging, synthetic sleeping pills. They want you exhausted, they want you chemically dependent on their hypnotic sedatives, and they want your brain slowly degrading from a complete lack of true restorative REM sleep. Today, I am exposing the cheap, natural root that destroys their entire business model, revealing the horrifying biological truth about the sleeping pills sitting on your nightstand, and showing you exactly how to use this hidden herb to permanently reset your circadian rhythm starting tonight. The sleep medicine industry is a masterclass in biological deception and human exploitation. When you lie awake at night, staring at the ceiling, your heart racing, your mind cycling through endless anxieties, you are in a state of profound biological vulnerability. When you finally break down and take this exhaustion to a doctor, they do not offer you a cure for your broken sleep cycle. Instead, they hand you a prescription for a class of drugs known as Z-drugs, medications like zolpidem, azopiclone, or older benzodiazepines. These synthetic chemicals are the foundational pillars of the insomnia industry, generating billions of dollars in recurring revenue every single year. But here is the devastating, horrifying truth that the pharmaceutical companies spend fortunes to hide from you. These pills do not actually put you to sleep. They induce a synthetic chemical coma. There is a massive life-or-death biological difference between natural sleep and pharmaceutical unconsciousness. When you swallow a patented sleeping pill, the chemical crosses the blood-brain barrier and forcefully hijacks your central nervous system. It violently shuts down your frontal lobe. You lose consciousness. You close your eyes and you wake up 8 hours later believing you have slept. But you have not. Clinical EEG brain scans of patients on these drugs reveal a terrifying reality. These medications completely annihilate the deep, slow-wave delta phases of sleep, and they drastically suppress your rapid eye movement, or REM sleep. These are the only two phases of the sleep cycle where your body actually heals, where your memories are consolidated, and where your cells repair themselves. You are effectively being knocked unconscious with a chemical bat, lying paralyzed in a bed while your brain suffocates and slowly starves for genuine rest. The side effects of this nightly chemical assault are catastrophic, particularly for older adults. Because you are trapped in a superficial state of unconscious sedation, your brain cannot clear out its daily metabolic waste. Over time, this leads directly to severe brain fog, memory loss, and a massive, statistically proven increase in the risk of early-onset dementia and Alzheimer's disease. Furthermore, these drugs actively destroy your natural sleep architecture. The moment you try to stop taking them, your brain experiences violent rebound insomnia, leaving you more awake, more terrified, and more exhausted than before you ever took the first pill. You are trapped in a vicious, highly profitable cycle of synthetic dependency. The industry knows this. They know their drugs are destroying your cognitive future, but an addicted, chronically exhausted patient is a customer for life. If the public understood that true, deep, slow-wave sleep could be permanently restored using a $2 unpatentable root that actually heals the neurological pathways instead of paralyzing them, the entire financial foundation of the sleep medicine cartel would collapse overnight. Before we dive into the exact cellular anatomy of insomnia and reveal the identity of this heavily suppressed botanical cure, I must state clearly that I am an independent clinical researcher and content architect. I am not a pharmaceutical representative paid to push toxic sedatives, and my loyalty lies entirely with your biological sovereignty. Therefore, while this information is strictly for educational and informational purposes, and you should always consult a trusted medical professional before altering your health regimen, I am going to give you the raw, unfiltered scientific reality that the sleep clinics refuse to share. You have a fundamental right to deep healing rest, and you have a right to know how your brain actually works when it is freed from the chains of synthetic chemistry. To understand why this $2 herb is the ultimate antidote to your insomnia, you must first understand the great biological lie you have been told about why you cannot sleep. Your doctor has likely told you that your insomnia is just a normal part of getting older, or that you simply have bad sleep hygiene. This is an insult to your intelligence. Chronic insomnia is not caused by looking at a television screen too late, and it is not simply a symptom of aging. It is a catastrophic, systemic failure of your brain's primary inhibitory neurotransmitter system. Inside your brain, there is a constant, delicate war being waged between two opposing chemical forces. On one side, you have glutamate. Glutamate is the gas pedal of your nervous system. It is an excitatory neurotransmitter that makes you alert, focused, and anxious. On the other side, you have GABA, or gamma-aminobutyric acid. GABA is the brakes. It is the deeply calming inhibitory molecule that shuts down the glutamate fire, lowers your heart rate, and physically pulls your brain down into the deep, slow-wave frequencies of delta sleep. When you are young and healthy, your brain produces a massive flood of GABA the moment the sun goes down, effortlessly overriding the glutamate and pulling you into a deep slumber. But as we age, and as we are subjected to decades of chronic stress, environmental toxins, and the highly inflammatory modern diet, a biological tragedy occurs inside our skulls. The chronic stress causes our adrenal glands to constantly leak a stress hormone called cortisol into our bloodstream, even late at night. This nocturnal cortisol acts like acid on our GABA receptors. The receptors become damaged, numb, and insensitive. Furthermore, an insidious enzyme in your brain called GABA transaminase becomes overactive as you age, actively hunting down and destroying whatever tiny amounts of natural GABA you have left. When you lie in bed at 2 a.m., feeling completely exhausted physically, but your mind is racing at 1,000 miles an hour, you are experiencing a state of absolute glutamate dominance and severe GABA starvation. Your brain's braking system has completely failed. You are biologically stuck in the on position. The pharmaceutical sleeping pills attempt to fix this by artificially binding to the GABA receptors and violently forcing them open. But because it is an artificial, synthetic chemical, the brain recognizes it as a toxic overdose. In defense, the brain actively deletes its own natural GABA receptors to try and restore balance. This process is called downregulation. This is exactly why you have to keep taking higher and higher doses of sleeping pills to get the same effect, and it is why your insomnia becomes infinitely worse without them. The drug is literally destroying the biological hardware required for natural sleep. To permanently cure insomnia, you cannot use a synthetic chemical hammer. You must find a biological compound that achieves two highly specific goals. It must gently repair and upregulate the damaged GABA receptors, and, most importantly, it must actively assassinate the GABA transaminase enzyme that is destroying your natural calming chemicals. You need to stop your brain from eating its own sleep molecules. There is an ancient, profoundly powerful herb that does exactly this. It does not drug you. It does not knock you unconscious. It actively heals the neurological environment of your brain. When the specific organic acids from this root enter your central nervous system, they act as a biological shield. They bind directly to the GABA transaminase enzyme and completely neutralize it. Instantly, your brain's natural levels of GABA begin to skyrocket. The calming neurotransmitters pool in your synapses. The glutamate fire is gracefully extinguished. The physiological anxiety melts away, and your brain is naturally, smoothly pulled down into the deep, restorative delta brainwaves that the pharmaceutical industry has stolen from you. This highly suppressed miracle root is the raw, pungent taproot of Valeriana officinalis. Now wait, if you have suffered from insomnia for years, you are likely rolling your eyes right now. You are thinking, I have tried Valerian root tea from the grocery store. I took Valerian capsules from the pharmacy, and it did absolutely nothing for me. And that right there is the greatest, most brilliantly executed deception of the commercial supplement industry. The sleep cartel relies on your ignorance of botanical chemistry. The Valerian products sitting on the shelves of your local grocery store are biologically dead. They are useless, oxidized dust, and they are intentionally processed in a way that completely destroys the medicine. The true, sleep-inducing power of Valeriana officinalis does not come from the generic plant matter. It comes from a highly volatile, incredibly fragile compound hidden deep inside the fresh root called valerianic acid. Valerianic acid is the exact molecule that destroys the GABA-eating enzymes. But here is the critical secret the tea companies hide from you. Valerianic acid is violently unstable when exposed to heat. The moment a commercial manufacturer blasts the valerian root with industrial heat to dry it, or the moment you drop a commercial valerian tea bag into a cup of boiling water, the valerianic acid is instantly vaporized into thin air. You are left drinking a cup of hot, useless brown water that will do absolutely nothing for your GABA receptors. To actually cure your insomnia and experience the profound, heavy blanket sedation of this ancient medicine, you must source the raw, unadulterated root, and you must extract it using a highly specific, ancient clinical method that completely avoids heat. First, sourcing is absolute life or death for this protocol. You must hunt down organic, whole, cut and sifted Valeriana officinalis root that has been cold-dried or shade-dried. You cannot buy powder, and you cannot buy tea bags. You must buy the raw, chopped pieces of the root itself. When you open the bag of the raw root, you will encounter the ultimate test of its potency, the smell. High-grade, biologically active valerian root possesses an incredibly aggressive, offensive odor. It smells intensely like dirty gym socks, wet dog, or aged cheese. This smell comes from a compound called isovaleric acid. If you open a bag of valerian and it smells pleasant, mild, or earthy, throw it straight into the garbage. It is dead. The horrific pungent smell is the exact biological proof that the volatile, sleep-inducing acids are alive, active, and ready to heal your brain. You must learn to love the stench, because the stench is the cure. Once you have sourced the foul-smelling, raw, shade-dried root, you must prepare the cold maceration extraction. This is the only way to pull the valerianic acid out of the root fibers without destroying it with heat. You will not be making tea, you will be making a cold water clinical infusion. Here is the exact, step-by-step extraction protocol. You will need a large, clean glass mason jar with a tight-fitting lid. Take exactly 1 full ounce, which is roughly a large handful of the raw, chopped valerian root, and place it into the empty glass jar. Next, pour exactly 16 ounces, or 2 cups of pure cold spring water, or heavily filtered water over the roots. Absolutely no tap water, as the chlorine and fluoride will severely damage the delicate organic acids. Seal the jar tightly with the lid and shake it vigorously for about 10 seconds. Now you place this jar in the darkest, coldest part of your refrigerator. You must leave it there, completely undisturbed, for a minimum of 24 to 48 hours. During this long, slow, cold maceration process, the water will act as a gentle biological solvent. It will slowly and methodically pull the valerianic acid, the isovaleric acid, and the deeply calming iridoid compounds out of the root fibers and suspend them perfectly into the cold water. The liquid will slowly turn a deep dark amber color. Because there is absolutely no heat applied, the molecular structure of the sleep-inducing medicine remains 100% intact and biologically active. After 24 to 48 hours, remove the jar from the refrigerator. You must now strain the liquid to remove the plant material. Do not use a metal strainer, as the trace metals can disrupt the ionic charge of the acids. Use a fine mesh cheesecloth or an unbleached organic coffee filter. Squeeze every last drop of the dark amber liquid out of the wet roots. This resulting liquid is your pure, highly potent, unheated valerianic extraction. Store this liquid in the refrigerator. It will stay potent for up to 1 week. The application protocol and timing are exactly what separate a restless night from an 8-hour coma. You must drink this extraction exactly 90 minutes before you intend to be asleep. Pour exactly 4 to 6 ounces of the cold valerian extraction into a glass. You must let it sit on the counter for about 20 minutes to reach room temperature before drinking it. Do not microwave it. Do not put it on the stove. If you heat it, you destroy the medicine. You must drink it at room temperature. Because the smell and taste are intensely pungent and earthy, you may quickly chase it with a small sip of pure tart cherry juice or a bite of raw honey to clear the palate, but do not dilute the extraction itself. Drink the 4 to 6 ounces on an empty stomach or at least 2 hours after your last heavy meal to ensure lightning-fast absorption across the gastric lining. What exactly happens to your biology when you execute this cold maceration protocol? Let us map out the exact timeline of your neurological restoration and the permanent return of your sleep. On day 1, the biological shift is entirely physiological and profound. Within 45 minutes of swallowing the extraction, the raw valerianic acid enters your bloodstream and crosses the blood-brain barrier. It instantly locates the GABA transaminase enzymes and neutralizes them. Within an hour, your brain is suddenly flooded with its own naturally produced GABA. The first thing you will experience is what clinical herbalists call the heavy blanket effect. The physical tension in your jaw, your neck, and your shoulders will simply melt away. The racing, anxious, glutamate-driven thoughts that usually plague you will dramatically slow down, becoming distant and quiet. You will feel a deep, heavy magnetic pull toward your bed. You will close your eyes, and unlike the violent chemical shutdown of a sleeping pill, you will gracefully and naturally descend into sleep. By day 7, you will experience the most crucial phase of your recovery, the REM rebound. If you have been taking pharmaceutical sleeping pills or suffering from severe insomnia for years, your brain has been desperately starved of rapid eye movement sleep. Because the valerian extraction actively repairs the GABA receptors instead of suppressing them, your brain is finally permitted to enter its deepest, most active healing phases. During this first week, you will likely experience incredibly vivid, cinematic, highly detailed dreams. This is not a side effect. This is your brain actively catching up on thousands of hours of lost psychological processing. More importantly, when you wake up on the 7th morning, you will experience a sensation you haven't felt in decades, actual, genuine refreshment. The heavy, drugged, groggy hangover of the synthetic pills is gone. You wake up feeling light, alert, and biologically clean because your brain was finally able to power up its glymphatic system and flush out the toxic metabolic waste. By day 14, the physiological anxiety loop is broken. The chronic cortisol leakage that kept you in a state of fight or flight at night has been permanently suppressed. You will find that even the anticipation of sleep is no longer terrifying. You simply drink your room temperature extraction, read a book, and allow the biological chemistry to smoothly transition you into unconsciousness. Your blood pressure normalizes, and the micro-awakenings where you bolt awake at 3 a.m. and cannot get back to sleep drastically reduce and disappear. The valerianic acid ensures that the GABA levels remain highly elevated throughout the entire 8-hour cycle, keeping you anchored in the deep delta waves. By day 30, you have achieved the ultimate goal, a total, permanent circadian reset. Your damaged GABA receptors have physically upregulated. They are sensitive, healthy, and highly functional again. Your brain has successfully relearned how to put itself to sleep. At this point, the true miracle of this ancient botanical medicine reveals itself. Unlike toxic synthetic drugs that require higher and higher doses until they kill you, Valerian root works in reverse. Because it actually heals the neurological pathways. By the end of the first month, you will find that you no longer need the extraction every single night. Your brain's natural braking system has been completely rebuilt. You have not just managed your insomnia, you have biologically cured it at the root cellular level. To maintain this incredible, deeply rested state of being, you simply keep a jar of the cold maceration in your refrigerator and use it only when needed, perhaps after a highly stressful day or when traveling across time zones. It becomes a tool of biological sovereignty, completely freeing you from the predatory chains of the pharmacy counter. The medical establishment and the billionaire sleep cartel want you to believe that your brain is broken, that aging inevitably destroys your ability to rest, and that your only salvation lies in the bottom of a patented plastic pill bottle. They want you waking up exhausted, terrified of the night, and completely dependent on their toxic chemical comas. But they are lying to you. Your brain is a magnificent, self-healing supercomputer, and it desperately wants to rest if you simply provide it with the correct biological keys. Raw, pungent, cold extracted Valeriana officinalis root is that key. It is the cheap, natural, unpatentable miracle that extinguishes the fire in your nervous system, restores your dreams, and gives you your life back. If this deep dive into the suppressed science of sleep architecture and botanical neurochemistry has opened your eyes, and if you are absolutely furious at the billion-dollar lies of the sleep medicine industry and are ready to take sovereign control of your circadian rhythm, you need to take action right now. Hit the subscribe button below so you never miss another explosive, uncensored expose on the true, natural healing protocols the medical cartel is desperately trying to hide from you. I have also placed direct, highly vetted links in the description box below to the exact raw, organic, shade-dried, violently pungent valerian root you need to perform this cold maceration. Do not gamble your brain health on dead, heat-destroyed grocery store tea bags. Check the description, get the raw root, start your cold water extraction tonight, and prepare to finally, truly sleep.